Imagine spending 3 years building the most advanced ship the world had ever seen, a ship so massive and so luxurious that people believed it could never sink. But on its very first voyage, it disappeared beneath the Atlantic Ocean in just 2 hours and 40 minutes. Even today, more than 100 years later, the wreck of the Titanic still rests over 12,500 feet below the surface, in complete darkness where sunlight never reaches. So, what really happened? Let's dive into the incredible true story of the Titanic. Construction of the Titanic began in 1909. It was built by the White Star Line, and around 15,000 workers helped bring this giant ship to life. The project took about 3 years and cost $7.5 million back then. In today's money, that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. At the time, Titanic was the largest moving object ever built by humans. It stretched about 882 feet long and was packed with luxury. The ship had a swimming pool, a Turkish bath, a gym, elegant dining rooms, cafes, smoking lounges, and beautiful first-class cabins. People even called it the Ship of Dreams. The company proudly claimed that Titanic was unsinkable. That bold promise made thousands of people eager to buy a ticket. No one imagined they were about to become part of one of history's greatest disasters. On April 10, 1912, Titanic left Southampton, England, on its first voyage to New York City. There were 2,224 people on board, including passengers and crew. Passengers were divided into first class, second class, and third class. First-class guests enjoyed incredible luxury. Meanwhile, third-class passengers had much more basic accommodations. Even though life on board was very different depending on your ticket, almost everyone shared the same belief. They thought they were sailing on the safest ship ever built. For the first 4 days, everything went smoothly. Then came the night of April 14. Throughout the day, Titanic received several warnings from nearby ships about dangerous icebergs. Unfortunately, many of those warnings were not treated with enough urgency. At 11:40 p.m., a lookout finally spotted a huge iceberg directly ahead. The crew immediately tried to turn the ship and slow it down, but it was too late. Within seconds, the Titanic scraped along the iceberg. The damage didn't look terrible from above, but below the waterline, several sections of the ship were ripped open. Freezing seawater rushed inside. The ship's designers quickly realized the heartbreaking truth: Titanic could not be saved. Then, another serious problem became clear. There were more than 2,200 people on board, but only 20 lifeboats. There simply weren't enough seats for everyone. The crew began loading women and children first. Panic spread across the ship as people realized what was happening. Meanwhile, about 35 engineers stayed below deck, keeping the power running for as long as possible. Because of their sacrifice, the lights stayed on while others escaped. None of those engineers survived. The ship's musicians also made an unforgettable choice. Instead of running, they continued playing music to help calm frightened passengers. They stayed at their posts until the very end. Another touching story was that of Isidor Straus and his wife Ida Straus. Isidor refused to take a lifeboat before other women and children. Ida refused to leave her husband behind. She chose to stay with him. The couple died together that night. At 2:20 am on April 15, 1912, just 2 hours and 40 minutes after hitting the iceberg, Titanic finally disappeared beneath the Atlantic Ocean. More than 1,500 people lost their lives. The ocean was about 28 F. Anyone who entered the freezing water had only minutes before hypothermia took over. The rescue ship RMS Carpathia arrived later and saved the survivors who had made it into the lifeboats. For decades, no one knew exactly where Titanic rested. Finally, in 1985, explorers discovered the wreck about 12,500 feet below the surface of the Atlantic Ocean. Today, the ship is slowly disappearing. Scientists believe special bacteria are eating away at the steel, causing the wreck to break down little by little. One day, much of the Titanic may be gone forever. The Titanic wasn't just a ship. It became a symbol of human ambition, overconfidence, and the importance of safety. Its tragic story changed maritime laws around the world, leading to stricter safety rules and enough lifeboats for every passenger. More than a century later, Titanic remains one of the most unforgettable disasters in history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, and tell us in the comments, what do you think was the biggest mistake that led to the Titanic disaster?